I cannot stress how important a debut is. It can literally make and break your career. Think of when Chris Jericho arrived in the WWE in the late 90s. It was so well executed, even if, somehow, you didn't know who he was, right away, you took interest. This man had something and was being treated as such. Then remember, the Shockmaster. I don't even think I need to make that argument. First impressions count for everything. This is important at the time of your arrival, but the build has to be spot on too. If you've got a series of rubbish vignettes, who's going to care about you when you turn up? No one. That's who. Ideally, however, it's getting the two to work in tandem that results in superstardom. You have the hype, and then the payoff is perfect. When that all falls apart, well, you probably suck balls. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and this is 10 hype WWE debuts that were total misdirections. Number 10, Nathan Jones. Nathan Jones was sold to us as a nutjob who had spent 7 years in an Australian prison and was now making his way to the WWE. Shit, son. The idea alone was enough to pique your interest, and it got better when you saw the man in person. He was a giant, and the thoughts of what he could do must have kept Vince McMahon up at night. And look at that chrome dome too. It's wonderful. And then after all this talk, he arrived and we were given a different story entirely. In fact, this hardened loner wasn't a hardened loner at all, and, as Michael Cole told us, had actually developed a student-teacher relationship with The Undertaker. You fucking kidding me? What is this? High school? Kick his ass, Seabass! Somehow no one in WWE realised this was awful and persisted with the idea. That saw Jones team with Taker to take on A-Train in the Big Show, and everything fell apart. It got so bad, Nathan was pulled from the planned WrestleMania 19 tag match because no one believed he could pull it off. Before long he had left the company and now he's resigned to appearing in lists like this. Sorry buddy, you deserve so much more. Number 9, Khazzani. Getting stuck in wrestling limbo when WWE was struggling with its developmental system in the mid-2000s, Khazzani was taken on quite the rollercoaster ride with the company. Having found some success as Sin in TNA, he soon arrived in FCW and took on the role as a weirdo, basically. Then a year later, his vignette started to air on SmackDown portraying him as such while he spoke in carny slang. This basically resulted in him inserting the word "is" into most sentences. And this was once a way wrestlers themselves communicated with each other to protect the business. So the irony here wasn't lost on anyone. Khazzani eventually debuted and his start was actually alright. He got a victory over MVP and then straight up got thrown into a brick wall. Figuratively smashed his nose open. It turned out the management didn't have a clue if he was a face or a heel, weren't sure how he should look on TV or what direction the persona should take. As such, it came off as a confused mess and, shock horror, Khazzani was released less than 2 months later. Now I don't know about you, but I think that means it didn't go too well. Number 8, Wade Vanson. Wade Vanson, the man that never was. In what will forever be one of the oddest choices in history, Vanson was given the role as the man who would try and usurp The Undertaker and even got a promo package to prove he existed. He would attack the Phenom with a band of merry warriors before going after the dead man himself at WrestleMania 25. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. Then after one video, everything just stopped, and he was never spoken about or heard from again. The problem, or so they say, was that Vince McMahon decided Wade wasn't big enough to be a credible threat to Taker. That may be fair to a certain extent, but why the decision was, just make him vanish, is not. At least come up with something new for the guy. Instead, nothing. Before long, he was gone too. Cheers for the memories, man. Number 7, The Undertaker. Misdirection doesn't have to be a bad thing. In fact, used correctly, it can be a great tool to create a surprise. This is what WWE achieved in January 2012. As a series of videos began to air featuring a man in black slowly walking through a rain-soaked path to a creepy house, rumours were abound as to who this would be. Surely it was The Undertaker, but maybe it was Shawn Michaels or hell, maybe this was all for Sting. The teasing continued wonderfully until they ran their course and it was revealed that, yes, it was The Undertaker and he was going to make his long-awaited return. So straight away, there was some idea of a misdirection, because no one actually knew for sure. But then WWE pulled the ultimate swerve because just as Taker was about to speak on his return, out came Triple H to interrupt. Neither man said anything, they just stared at the WrestleMania logo and got everything they needed to across. With an electric crowd hanging off their every move, this was an awesome moment and one that came all from a debut of sorts. And that's very nice indeed. Number 6, Outback Jack. Straight away you know this is going to be garbage. Outback Jack. Why not just call him Australian Adam? Why even bother trying to be creative? This was just Crocodile Dundee's success infiltrating the WWE. It was disgusting. Introduced to the wrestling world through weeks of vignettes in 1986, Jack was seen shaving with a knife, feeding crocs, participating in drinking contests, and getting confused by automatic doors. Yep, the man didn't understand electricity. Everything was beyond cliched, but clearly the WWE did have big plans for Jack. No one would give someone they didn't believe in this much airtime before they even got to TV. The problem, however, came when that did happen. Clearly not the most skilled in-ring technician, fans saw through the act straight away and Jack plummeted to the bottom of the card in record time. In just 6 months he was a glorified jobber, and within a year, he was sent back to Oz. All that, and then that's all we got. Makes me want to cry. Number 5, Chris Jericho. The videos leading to Chris Jericho's WWE return in 2012 were excellent. Creepy, weird, and downright unsettling. It set the stage for a different character than what we'd been used to. Surely whoever was going to appear off the back of these would have to be able to justify bizarre children scribbling in notepads and dancing around desks. These continued to get darker as well, and then smiley, happy Jericho arrived and nothing made sense anymore. They didn't tie in to his deliberately muted comeback persona. He didn't seem particularly edgy or sinister. It was just Y2J. Didn't make any sense. He was sure to get the end of the world as you know it line in that had featured in these vignettes during a promo, but after that, forget about it. The arc was dropped entirely. What a waste. Number 4, Emelina. You saw it, I saw it, Emma definitely saw it. After weeks of being told we'd waited so long, Emelina finally arrived on Raw and told us it was time to go back to being Emma. Huh? What? Are you nuts? You've literally just wasted my life. I'm going to be on my deathbed remembering how I lost months to this nonsense. The story behind the madness was that WWE officials just weren't happy with how the character was coming off during rehearsals. Wanting Emma to hark back to the days of Sable and all those crazy cats, she apparently couldn't get it right, so the powers that be put this ridiculous segment together instead. Why this wasn't given to someone like Eva Marie is the real question. She could pull that off in her sleep and it would have left Emma to play to her strengths. That's not what happened. And now we always have to remember this was a thing. It can never be an unthing. Which is not a word. Number 3, Dan Mathur. Well, look who it is. The guy who I get told is me on Twitter pretty much on a regular basis. The NXT superstar was basically used as shark bait as he headed outside of the Performance Center and ended up on TV. For weeks before his October 2016 debut, Mathur was portrayed as a monster, standing in a darkened ring as the camera panned around him, giving the impression he was an absolute badass. As time ticked away, fans slowly started to get intrigued by the guy, interested to see what he was going to bring to the table. Then he arrived and got eaten alive by a Samoa Joe who was pissed off that he wasn't the NXT champion anymore. It was a genius way to add more heat to Joe. No one actually thought this would be the reason Mathur was given the treatment that he got. He was simply there to help Joe's rampage. And it was fantastic. Number 2, Brodus Clay. Whole thing was ridiculous, right? Months of work letting us know that this animal was heading to Raw, and then when he arrives, he's pretending to be an alien from some dancing planet. Great. Thanks for that. Thanks for giving me more work to do when people ask why I like wrestling before flipping the channel and seeing this shit. Give me strength, WWE. It was the ultimate swerve in terms of what the fans expected and then what they got. And while on the night it felt quite fun, and to a lesser extent special, within weeks it was clear this was nothing more than a joke. And a 6'5" monster shouldn't be treated like a joke. He should be dishing out punchlines instead. When I say punchlines, I mean fists. Ultimately, it would signal the end for Brodus because he never got the push the videos hinted he was gonna have. He just danced his way out of the company as a T-Rex shed a single tear. Number 1, Sean OHaire. Here's a Simon fact for you. I used to really like Sean OHaire, and I used to really like the tag team between him and Chuck Palumbo. No idea why, he just did. So that's that. When he joined the WWE after the WCW buyout in 2001, however, he didn't exactly set the world on fire. Spending a year in OVW and competing on Sunday Night Heat to get him up to the standard officials wanted him to be at, he finally popped up on Big Boy TV in 2003. Dressed all in black and talking right down the lens to the viewer, OHaire would speak about the fans embracing a darker side of their lives before going in pretty deep about personal vices, how they're all justified. He felt like some sort of cult leader, and there was something here that people wanted more of, even if it was just to see where it was actually headed. The answer, of course, was to nowhere. When push came to shove, he was paired with Roddy Piper and acted like a hired goon. All that pomp All that circumstance was replaced with angry growling, and a year later Shawn had left the company.
So that was our video. Thank you for watching. Please do feel free to click on anything happening around my head or something terrible might happen to this dog. Is that you too sweeting me, bro? Ugh. Disgusting. That's really bad.